Change your heart, change your life, change the planet.
Be careful of following people or listening to people or getting advice from people that don't allow their ideas or their abilities to be tested. That when their ideas are put out in a public forum, they censor any information to the contrary, or even questions that are raised that bring to light certain inadequacies in their belief systems or in their ideas. Same goes for their abilities. People that boast about having certain abilities or accomplishing certain feats, if they're not willing on a regular basis to put those abilities to the test publicly, then do not put much stock in what they're saying. Science works because ideas are tested. Science works because someone comes up with a hypothesis, designs an experiment. Basically, okay, I think it should work like this. I think it's biologically or physiologically plausible, so therefore I'm going to design an experiment to test my hypothesis. And part of that experiment is to test the null hypothesis. First and foremost, to try to prove myself wrong. Can I find holes in my own argument? Because if I can find holes, clearly other people are going to find holes. So let's first try to disprove it. And in doing so, we're going to learn more about this topic and learn more about what it is that I'm trying to put forth and test. So I'll better understand how to test it. I'll be able to design a more precise experiment. And then I design the experiment, I get some results, and maybe the results are incredibly positive and they support my hypothesis. Well, it's not over yet. Now I've got to submit that to my peers, some of which I know and some of whom I don't know and who live around the world. I submit the findings to a journal, and people go about replicating the experiment to see if they get the same results or if they get different results. And if they get different results, well, I got two options. I can say, okay, what information are they getting that I'm not getting? How was my experiment flawed, or how was their experiment flawed? Let's have a conversation about this. Let's try to get to the bottom of why we're getting different data here. Or I can say, screw you, I did it, I found it, it's right, it works, end of conversation. I don't need to discuss this further. I don't need to look at your data. I don't need support from the greater scientific community. I believe it. And I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to create a following and a cult and get all these people on board of this experiment that's never been validated by other people, and possibly even not been validated by myself, because when other people couldn't validate it, that scared something in me subconsciously, and now I'm afraid to validate it, so I put it out there, but I don't really monitor the results all that well, and I make sure that I don't really test the limits in an empirical, measurable way, because then I might discover that what I'm doing is absolute horse sheep. So this is how cults form, and this is how good scientists go bad, because they're so wrapped up in their own ideas that they don't allow them to be tested. Their identity is tied to this idea or ideology or this particular result, and maybe they won a prize for it, and now that prize is being taken away, or their fame was short-lived, but now it's so deeply ingrained in who they are, they can't let it go. And so they eliminate the possibility of testing by creating an insular bubble of followers who believe everything that they say because they speak it with such confidence and certainty. And I'm warning you, to beware of people like this. Beware of people that have solid ideas and solid thoughts and solid certainty. They can give you a quick, absolute black and white answer to whatever ails you. Because nothing is that simple. And human beings, despite the fact that we're quite similar and we share so many commonalities, there are still so many variations among us. We're not all clones of each other, not even close. And this is one of the reasons that people hate going to medical doctors, because medical doctors realize how complicated most situations are, most conditions are, and they can't give you a black and white answer. And people hate that because they don't feel safe inside of the truth. what they feel safe inside of is going to someone that says, aha, I know exactly what it is, totally figured it out. I don't even really need to look at your blood work or anything else. I know what it is. Trust me. And just do this. And that certainty makes you feel good. It makes you feel safe. It makes you relax. It makes you feel comfortable. And that is going to help you heal to some degree. It's going to take some of the negative stress off. Stress isn't always a bad thing, but if you believe that the thing that you're stressed about is terminal and horrible, then the stress that you experience, otherwise known as anxiety, is going to have a negative effect on you. But stress can also have a positive effect on you. It can create what's known as a challenge response. Even when you're sick, you can still use that to rev yourself up. Doesn't mean you'll get cured, but you can have a much stronger emotional experience in the process. But people don't like uncertainty. People don't like facing their discomfort and working through it, which is why there are so few athletes in the world, especially in the United States. The percentage of people that engage in intense athletic endeavor is such a tiny percentage of the population because it requires that you face discomfort. And it requires that you test yourself on a regular basis against people that are as good, if not better than you. And you might not like the results. You might want to prefer that your fantasy of you being the superstar athlete, well, I want to hold on to that fantasy. I want to hold on to that image of the great guy that I was in high school or college, and I don't want to test that now and look bad. I don't want to put my toe on the line next to people that might be working harder than me, who might be able to face more discomfort than me and might school me. So, long conversation about the information that you're going to find out there online, and I know I haven't put a lot out there of late because the more I know, the less certainty I have. That doesn't mean that I have a smaller understanding as I trip. It doesn't mean that I'm ignorant. It doesn't mean that my intelligence is decreasing. It simply means that I realize that the conversation that we're having about diet and about exercise and about weight loss and so many other things, psychological health, these conversations are far more complicated and nuanced than the people that you might be following would lead you to believe, because they speak with such clarity and with such certainty. And that is a clear sign that they have stopped testing. That is a clear sign that they haven't been evolving their research, evolving their ideas. They got a good idea and they're running with it. And they just attack anybody that says anything to the contrary, and yet they won't put it to the test. They'll attack others, but they won't have a conversation where intelligent people are coming together and pointing out things that are inconsistent and simply flawed. So please be careful, and I'm going to try to get more information up there. It's just as this conversation gets bigger and bigger, it's harder for me to hone in on specific aspects to give to you other than to have conversations like this. So I hope there is some value in this, and life is about flow. Life is about expansion. Life is about movement. Life is about growth. Life is about testing. In fact, the process of evolution is about gene variations being tested in a natural environment, and essentially life is experimenting. I'm an experiment. My genes are unique. They're a variation. They are a test. My entire life is a test. And let's see what the results are. I can either pay attention to those results, I can put my experiment into the larger experiment called life, called culture, and I can see how it works. How does this experiment fare under this type of growth, under this type of stressor within this community? Let's find out. I think that's the purpose of life, is to see what your experiment can do. And that's ultimately what your genes are. They're like, hey, we are iteration number 2,579,042. Let's plug into the game and see what happens. And maybe we find out that these are really good genes. Maybe we find out that this experiment is a huge success. Or maybe we find out that it isn't. And that's okay too. We can take that information and share it with others and their experiments. And collectively as a group have more solid information as we move from there. Not perfect information, not concrete information, just a little bit better information. All right? I love you. I'm done. Bugs are getting me and the cars are making noise, so I'll see you soon. Bye. The main reason that I haven't been doing videos is that I've been really focused on my book, which is turning into several shorter books. So I'm breaking it apart into multiple pieces and right now working on the first piece.